We all have fabric in our stash that is precious for one reason or another, and each of us determines what's precious. In this video, I'm going to show you a piece of precious fabric that I have and how I sewed it up. I'll give you a little teaser. It didn't go as expected. Hello, sewing friends. It's great to see you or to see you again. I'm Janine, and I talk about sewing for the over 50 life. There are timestamps in the description box below if you'd like to skip forward or backward in this video. And today I'm wearing a tunic that I made last year, some time ago, using the Tunic Bible by Sarah Gunn and Julie Starr. And there's a video about that up here. It's sewing month. It's September. And this year, as last year, Whitney, the vlogger Tomcat Stitchery, has challenged all of us to sew the precious. Those pieces of fabric that are languishing in your stash because for some reason they are precious to you. There is actually a challenge with prizes that's going on, and all of the details are in Whitney's vlog. I'm going to link all this information down below so you don't need to take any notes. It's all linked down below. The challenge runs until September 30th, 2025, and you simply have to make something using precious fabric, post it on Instagram, and yeah, you could win a prize. There are about 20 of us sewing vloggers who are participating and posting videos to encourage you and encourage ourselves to sew up some of that precious fabric. My predecessor video is So Mad, and the vlogger who is posting after me is Unsocial. What is precious fabric? It means something different to each of us. It could be something that has sentimental value, something that you cannot buy again and it means something to you. Or it could be something that was very expensive. Typically, precious fabric is intimidating to cut into, which means that maybe we should spend a little more time planning and thinking about what we're going to do. Fabric that I bought last spring from Fabric Godmother in the UK. It was not inexpensive fabric, and then I had to pay to have it shipped. So price per meter was very high. And I also liked it a great deal, and I wanted to wear it. However, this was definitely a case of what was I thinking when I bought this fabric. My fabric is stretch faux iridescent pink stretch faux leather. Honestly, what was I thinking? I'll tell you what I was thinking when I bought this. It was spring and everyone was talking about bomber jackets, and I thought, oh gosh, wouldn't this be the cutest bomber jacket? Lovely for spring. Maybe I was thinking of the pink ladies from Greece. I don't know. I bought the fabric and received it in maybe, I don't know, April. But there was something that stopped me from sewing it. It was expensive, and I wanted to make sure I didn't make a mistake. I was only encouraged to cut it out because of this challenge, and I thought, I am going to use this fabric, I'm going to sew it up, and I'm going to wear my beautiful pink bomber jacket. Last weekend, I had to really get on this project because I had a deadline. When I bought the fabric, my initial thought was that I was going to make a bomber jacket, and I had just bought a bomber jacket pattern. Butterick 7008. I thought this would be perfect for this fabric. It calls for stretch suede, so I thought that would work with this particular fabric. However, this pattern, the version that I liked, has the knit collar, as a lot of bomber jackets do. And I wasn't sure if I could find knit ribbing that would work well with this particular fabric. I went looking for other patterns, and one of my Instagram friends suggested I look at McCall's 8607 And I liked it enough that I bought this pattern. It's got a little bit more of a utility jacket vibe that I thought was current and was something that I would wear. My hesitation with this particular pattern was that it has buttonholes. I wasn't sure how well I would do with that. And also there are a lot of details. Thought perhaps that would be a bit of a challenge. Then I pulled out a third pattern that I had in my stash. And this is one that actually calls for synthetic leather. And that's Vogue 1833. There is a long sleeve version of a top and then the short sleeve version. And on the pattern, it actually is sewn in synthetic leather. Really considered this one. In the end, I went with my gut, which was the bomber jacket, my initial thought. I cut out the pattern pieces. I did a tissue fitting and I was just about to cut out the fabric, but I thought, no, this isn't right. Something's going to happen with this. This is the wrong choice. Stepped back, pulled out this pattern, cut out the top, the short sleeve, or the sleeveless really top, and decided that's what I was going to use. I tissue fitted. It's a very simple shape. And I wound up sewing a large, grading out to an XL for my stomach and my hips, and made one adjustment, and that was a high round back adjustment. This type of top, typically, if you've got a rounded back from spending too much time looking at devices, this is the type of top that will always pull back. Felt confident with that pattern choice, and I cut out the fabric. It was interesting cutting out this fabric because when it was right sides together, it stuck together really nicely. It didn't shift or move. Marking it was easier than I expected, as I couldn't use a pin in it, and I couldn't mark the right side of the fabric. I just used a pencil on the wrong side of the fabric, and that worked perfectly. This is a very simple pattern. Sleeveless, so the arm side is folded under, and then it has a large collar that is inset, and the zipper is built into the collar. Collar is designed to be worn open. And then at the bottom, there's a faced hem. I thought that I could handle this with this particular fabric. Before I dove into it, I pulled out my Schmetz needle guide and looked up what type of needles I should use. Their recommendation for leather was, of course, a leather needle. Their recommendation for vinyl, which is what this felt like to me, was a Microtech needle. I ran some samples through using a Microtech needle and it worked fine. Got through 4 layers of fabric really nicely. I picked a color of thread that I thought would pretty much disappear into the fabric. Of course, it's difficult to find the right color when you're working with something that has shifting colors in the fabric. And I started sewing. Had no problems. Did the stay stitching, and I did the shoulders, and I top stitched the shoulders. And then it comes time to do the collar, which is the most complicated part of this particular pattern. It's only complicated because of the fabric that I was using. And this is when everything went off the rails. With the collar, it's really a faced piece that is sewn into the front of the top. The pattern is designed for synthetic leather, and there is something in this pattern that makes no sense if you're working with synthetic leather. And that is when you're getting ready to insert the zipper, you're instructed to fold over the fabric, fold over the seam allowance, and press it. You can't press synthetic leather, so I don't know how they expect you to treat it. I've made 1 or 2 bags, and I know that there's such a thing as double-sided fabric tape, and I had some on hand, and that's what I decided to use. Now, stupid decision. My double-sided tape was 3/4 of an inch wide, and this has a 5/8 inch seam allowance, so I'd be folding over 5/8 of an inch. I just figured that little tiny 1/8 of an inch of super sticky tape wouldn't be an issue. It was an issue. I folded everything over. I used my little roller and got it nice and flat. I was quite pleased with how it was looking. and then I sewed in the zipper. Well, that tape was an issue, of course. It was on the underside. It got stuck on the faceplate, which meant I had to unpick the basting on the zipper. Put tissue underneath, which worked fine. I got the basting done. Then the next step is to fold over. So I was going to have vinyl, faux leather on one side, on the bottom against the plate, and also on the top against the foot. I'm working with a zipper foot. A zipper foot isn't Teflon, and a zipper foot isn't a walking foot, which meant that things got stuck and had to be unpicked. Put tissue paper on top and bottom. Sewed it. Skipped stitches. Had to be unpicked. Switched over to a leather needle. Tissue paper, top and bottom. Finally got it sewed on. By then, I had marks on the fabric from clips, and things had been unpicked several times. I didn't think it was too bad. There are a couple places where the fabric was kind of pulled too. At this point, I just wanted to get it done. I didn't care. And I had my little face piece ready to go and zipped it up. I thought, this is fine. This is good enough. Until I looked at the top. And I had somehow got the alignment off. And one side is half an inch longer than the other. Turned off the machine, walked away. I did come back. Took a few deep breaths, cut a new collar, started over again. Trimmed the double-sided tape, used the right needle, used tissue paper on both sides, and I got it done. It is not perfect. It's better than what my first version was. Done. I continued sewing, and at one point you're supposed to stop and construct the lining. I had some nice cotton silk ready for the lining. It was cut out. At this point, I decided that I wasn't going to line it. I was not willing to invest any more time in this, and I knew that there would be issues attaching the lining. Decided to scrap the lining. The fabric backing is really soft. It feels nice against the skin, and it's sort of flesh colored for me. So if you see it through the sides underneath the arm side, it's not going to be glaring. It's not going to be popping out like it would be if it was bright purple or even if it was the pink. Continued on and finished the top without lining. The only things that were left to do, I had already sewn the side seams and top stitched them, done the arm side. There is a faced hem. I attached the faced hem. For all of the stitching, once I got through the zipper, I used a walking foot, and that worked pretty well. Not perfect. It's very difficult to get this fabric to lie completely flat, and the way that it reflects light, it shows everything. Every teeny tiny little bump and bubble was done. Not entirely happy with it. That is not to say that I am not going to wear this top. We go on a lot of cruises, and the cruise line that we go on, they often have these shine the night parties. This is a perfect top for times when you're supposed to be shiny. I will wear it. It is not perfect. Maybe someone who sews will notice that. Other people will likely think that I just purchased it from Shein at about 1/100th of what it really cost me to make it. All of this is not to say that this was a bad experience. It was a challenge, and I learned a number of things. I learned about working with fabric like this. I learned about taking a long, hard look at a pattern before you cut out fabric that is precious. More importantly, I learned before you press buy or you tell the cutting table clerk to cut that fabric, Stop and think about how it's going to fit into your life and how it's going to look when it's made up. Will that work on your body and how you see yourself? I love the idea of this in a bomber jacket. I still do. It doesn't suit my life now. I'm over 60. I don't go out that often. I don't socialize a lot. When I was younger, when I was going out a couple of times a week, I might have worn this once a week over the course of a couple of years, and it would have been worthwhile to have the bright pink bomber jacket. At this stage in my life, it wouldn't get worn. It would hang in the closet. And I actually asked one of my friends what she thought, and she laughed when I told her what I was thinking of. She was like, "You're never going to wear that." No, I wouldn't have worn it. I made a better choice using a piece of precious fabric, and it will actually now be worn at times when it's appropriate for me to wear it, which is on a cruise ship when you dress up and you want to be a little bit sparkly and shiny. Each of you likely has at least one piece of precious fabric in your stash. Are you considering sewing it up for this challenge? We're halfway through September, so maybe there isn't enough time. Perhaps you have something in mind, something that you've dreamed of with that fabric. I would love to hear about it. Thank you so much for joining me today and seeing my misadventures with my precious fabric. I hope to see you again soon. Take care.